Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today we're going to be talking about Metro Conflict The Origin, a new free-to-play first-person shooter on Steam. Taking my first steps into the game, I quickly realized that the movement and combat are legitimately exactly the same as every Korean free-to-play first-person shooter that has ever gone and existed. It's just incredibly generic, and the graphics are in the same boat. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it feels like we're going back to 2012. Now both of these points are not issues per se. I kind of like the generic feeling gameplay of free-to-play first-person shooters, and bad graphics means high frames per second, and that generally resonates with free-to-play fans, but there are so many free-to-play titles out there that go exactly down that route, and then they just go and crash. So what does Metro Conflict The Origin try to go and do differently to go and push itself away from the pack? Well, the game's defining feature is its mercenaries. There is a large cast of characters that you can go and play, and each have their own unique weapon sets and abilities. You can swap between these characters mid-game, and to be honest, it feels like the Overwatch hero format had a baby with a futuristic Crossfire. I was always really surprised that nobody tried to fuse a military shooter and a hero shooter, but it actually works really well here. You initially unlock the default assault rifle guy, a minigun user and a grenade launcher guy, and that's a decent amount of variety just from the very start. You're given enough in-game currency to buy one more character from the shop, and there's quite a lot of people to choose from. I personally chose a sniper rifle guy, but there's a girl with akimbo SMGs and so on. Every character also has a unique ultimate ability. For example, SMG girl has a speed up, minigun guy takes less damage, etc, etc. It kind of feels like ultimates from Overwatch, but they're not so game changing and more used to go and spice up the battle a little bit. Now with that said, the whole concept isn't original. The weapons and abilities are not original, but the sheer variety of characters is actually quite entertaining, especially when you're going up against a lot of different enemies as well. The grind to go and unlock all these characters is unreal. I get like 400 gold per match, a character costs like 100,000 gold, so overall you're going to be playing quite a lot in order to go and unlock all the characters. Now for the developers that go and make a little bit of money, they implemented a $20 DLC package called the Full Agents Pack, and it gives you 9 agents and 440,000 gold. This is a very big shortcut to unlocking all of the game's content, but it's not pay to win, as a free-to-play user can eventually go and unlock all of the content as well. It's just going to take them a very long time. Without paying the $20, it feels like you're playing a trial version, as there's so much stuff that you can't realistically go and get as a free user simply because you have to go and play the game so much to go and unlock everything else. Originally, this was supposed to be a normal pay-to-play title, so I get where they're going with this, but nobody's going to drop 20 bucks on this over Counter-Strike Global Offensive or Rainbow Six Siege. Now getting into the meat and potatoes of the game, let's start out with the maps. While not the most original I've seen, they are bright, diverse and vibrant, and generally enjoyable to play on. While they feature the common tropes of tight corridors and open areas, there is still quite a bit of choice in terms of pathing and flank routes. Now, if you put these maps into classic team deathmatch settings, then I reckon I would be a bit more harsh, but the modes of this game really go and boost the overall experience. Unlike every other free-to-play first-person shooter, the game focuses much more on objectives than just pure killing, which puts much more emphasis on the choice of your class. The main mode of the game is called Extreme Domination, and it's a really neat twist on the domination mode we all know. There's a marker that anybody can go and grab, and when you set it up, it starts to tick up to 100. When you get to 100, you win the game. But the thing is that you can go and set up this marker basically anywhere that isn't your base or the enemy's base. This means that the battles always be shifting to different positions around the map, depending where people go and put the marker, and it keeps the game kinda fresh. But this mode is completely flawed because if a member of the opposing team interrupts the upload, it resets all your progress, so games generally drag out to the maximum match time. Therefore, 95% of the match doesn't matter. You just gotta go and make sure that you're uploading when the timer goes down to 0, and then you go and win the game. We then have 3 other modes. The first one is Demolition, which is straight up search and destroy bomb defusal type stuff. It feels like every FPS game has this mode, but it just doesn't work well here at all, because it's way too serious of a mode for a game like this, which is inherently not competitive. The second one is Escape, where one team has to prevent the other from getting to the escape point. It's absolute chaos, but extremely entertaining. Infiltration is the last, and it's a bit of a weird one. One team is inside a compound and has to go and defend it from the other team trying to get inside. There is also a story mode, which acts as a quite in-depth tutorial, which for some reason isn't shown to the player when you first go and boot up the game, so most people just go and forget about it. It's a bit of a shame because this tutorial is actually quite decent. There's a lot of effort put into it. It goes and introduces the game quite well, but nobody's going to go and see it, so therefore it's kind of just wasted energy. At this point in my original review, I basically wrote off the game saying that it was unoptimized, laggy, and buggy. And yes, the UI might not be the best. And yes, it might not run at the highest of frames per second that I'm personally used to. And yes, the servers might hiccup once in a while. But I think I was trying to go and really berate the game for no obvious reason, because that was what my initial impressions were when I first booted it up. But the more I put hours and hours into this game, I realized that it has a charm that not many other free-to-play first-person shooters do. It's because it doesn't care what everybody else is doing. Most of the games in this genre take themselves way too seriously, trying to go and take over the genre and knock off games like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, but it's obvious that Metro Conflict wants none of it, and that's a breath of very fresh air. It doesn't want to be competitive, it doesn't want to be tactical, it just wants to be fun. The game goes and gives you these chaotic modes with these really close maps and these characters that have miniguns and grenade launchers and all these different types of stuff, and all these abilities are really overpowered and broken. But who really cares when you're just running around and having some fun? This game goes and reminds me of Ghost in the Shell First Assault, but pre-rework, but cranked up to 20. First Assault was a fantastic game because it was dumb fun. It wasn't supposed to be competitive and tactical. You just ran around like with Makoto with invisibility and Batal with an arm-mounted rocket launcher that could one-shot people and the super speed and all that different type of stuff. And it was a really fun experience. But it wasn't optimized, it was buggy, and then the developers tried to make it competitive and ruin the whole fun, the whole reason why people play the game in the first place. Metro Conflict The Origin, it just goes and takes the whole concept of let's have a lot of different characters and just ramps it up to 20 with these ridiculous abilities and ridiculous weapons. And even though it is not balanced by any means of the word, it doesn't really matter because you're just having a lot of fun just shooting people with all these different types of stuff. Now please note, this isn't the best free-to-play first-person shooter. It's probably along the lines of like a 7 out of 10, right? It still has a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed with the UI, with the optimization, but it does something different, and that's why I'm giving it a lot of praise, because it doesn't go down the route that every other game is going down, trying to be the new Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It just wants to be something different, and I think that's really cool. Now on a side note, I never played the original Metro Conflict that was shut down last year, but looking at some gameplay, it looks like a completely different type of game compared to this one, going down the more tactical direction. I also didn't realize until after I did my whole playtest and wrote up the majority of this script, that this game is developed by the creators of Alliance of Valiant Arms, Red Dark. It's a completely different type of free-to-play first-person shooter, and to be perfectly honest, I prefer AVA to combat, the customization, everything about the game I enjoy more, but I feel like that game takes itself way too seriously, but this game takes itself a lot more laid back, and it's a lot more fun, a lot more free-loving, and overall, that is really cool. Now, is this a quote-unquote good game? And it really depends on perspective. The reason why the reviews on Steam are mixed is because you've got people from varying sides, varying perspectives of what a free-to-play first-person shooter should be. The fans of games, let's say Black Squad, want a really polished experience that is tactical and balanced and fair. But then you have fans of games like Ghost in the Shell First Assault Online, who would absolutely enjoy this because it is just a lot of dumb fun. Is this game perfect? Of course not. I'm feeling like a 6.5 out of 10 overall, because there are still a lot of glaring issues that really need to be fixed. You've got a lot of optimization issues with frames per second and server hiccups. You've got a lot of texture popping. You've got that really obtrusive unlock system where you have to grind quite a lot in order to go and get the characters. I would love having the permanent unlock, but also having like a 1 or 7 day trial so I could go and muck around with the characters a little bit before I go and commit to buying them. You of course also have the user interface, which is complete garbage. It's functional, but it just looks bad. It's low resolution, it's not professional, and I think that is going to be the initial thing that pushes a lot of people away from this game. Because when you first boot up a game and you see something so unprofessional, it goes and kind of taints your initial experience like it did for me. Then you hop into game and you realize you're running at 45 frames per second and you can't go and change your graphics in game, so you're lagging, and then maybe the server might go and have a little bit of a hiccup, and so your experience is already bad on that front. Then you have the HUD that is very convoluted, you've got this text just popping out of nowhere, and then you have the announcer blaring in your ear every time that the flag or the mark or whatever it is dropped, and it's just really annoying. So overall, no wonder a lot of people are not giving this game a chance, because your initial experience is so bad. However, if that initial experience is fixed up, I think a lot more people would be receptive to this game. Because at the moment, it just kind of drops you into the universe and says, here's our maps, here's our modes, here's our characters, and just try to go and learn it, I suppose. But it doesn't really go and funnel your experience down a linear path at the start in order to go and show what the game is actually really about. And more than likely, you'll experience the stuff that really isn't good about the game first before you go and realize the dumb fun that a lot of people really want from this type of game. Overall, Metro Conflict: The Origin is definitely a game that is a mixed bag. Before you go and find the good, you're going to go and find a little bit of bad. But if you can go and wade through all the bad stuff that you initially go and find, I definitely think there's something that fans of Ghost in the Shell First Assault will really enjoy. Now, with all of that said, if you guys enjoyed this review, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go and give a like rating or subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And also, comment in the comment section below what your impressions of this game are. If you've played it, if you haven't played it, go and tell me in the comment section below. I would love to go and read it. But other than that, it's Undercover Dudes, all the way from Down Under, out.